Hi, it's Becky from Lessons by the Lake. Today I want to talk to you about morning meeting activities. So I want to give you some things to think about when you're planning your activities to make sure that they're fitting the needs of your class the best. So if you've been around here before, you know I absolutely love all things morning meeting, but every year I find that it's hard to pick what activities to do with my students. So I have the year planned out with seasonal activities and different things that work depending on how familiar the class is with each other. But when you're picking it for each day, I think about social emotional skill I'd like them to focus on, the type of category I would like them to do, and then I think about my class personality. So unfortunately, even though I have it planned out for the whole year, sometimes you have to switch things around. A kid could be coughing that day, and the activity you had planned with them all holding hands might not be the best idea. Or if they have a real lot of energy, maybe you need a calming game that day to help get them focused and centered, ready for the day. So on my blog and in my products, I talk a lot about aligning social emotional learning with morning meeting because it's so easy to do and it naturally occurs throughout the activities, and students don't even realize that they're practicing respect or teamwork or leadership. It's just part of the fun of the game that they're getting this experience and building these skills. So something else that's really important to think about is the category that I mentioned before. So the different types of categories are how they're interacting with each other, interacting with the room. So it helps to plan and make sure that your activities fit your needs each day by checking that the activity fits the time that you have, the behavior of your students that day, your room setup, the class mood, and any situations you may be having going on in your classroom. So let me tell you about the different types of categories. So there's charades. So think about your students if they would feel comfortable getting up and acting out, and if you have room in your classroom to do that. There's when you pass an object around the circle. There's passing words around the circle, so you're taking turns, each student's participating, saying something different. Something that's important to note is that there are different types of games where all students are involved, and then it's more focused on one student leading and other students guessing. So you need to think about the personality of your class. Are they maybe more shy and they don't like experiences where they're all sharing? Do they have outgoing personalities and they would prefer to all be sharing than have the attention all on one person? So think about this as I'm explaining these categories. So another one is partner game, and usually with partner games, people are eliminated. So think about how your students would handle that. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of games that have a center of attention. Someone in the middle of the circle, someone leading, someone doing most of the talking and the moving. So is that something that works for your classroom? There's chanting. There's throwing a ball around the room. There's a lot of games where they're touching each other. So they're tapping or they're holding hands. So think about, is that something that's conducive for your classroom? There's a lot where the class is all working together and everyone is participating. There's activities where they're switching spots around the circle. So think about, are they ready for that kind of movement where they're maybe running or walking by each other, and are they okay if they bump into each other? Have you discussed personal space? There's a lot of games that involve running. I try and do those outside as often as possible when it's warm and save them for some of the warmer months. There's games where they're spaced out across the whole classroom. There's games where students individually are called out to get eliminated. There's activities that they are sharing something about themselves and they have to be a little vulnerable and take a risk to share something. So on my blog, I have these listed out and I have an example for each one of them so you can understand more what I mean. But you just really need to think about the personality of your class and which of these types of activities work best for you. So it's a different way of thinking about it. Sometimes we look at a game and we think, oh, that sounds fun, but we need to think about, is our class ready for this category of games? Are they ready to be throwing things around our classroom? Are they ready to be tapping each other? So while we want to focus on that social emotional learning, we need to think about the physical sense of what they're doing and how they're moving around and interacting with each other to make sure it's something that's appropriate for the size of our students, the behavior of our students, and the personality of them and what they would enjoy. So I hope this gives you a little bit of an insight of some different things to think about while you're planning. I'll put some links below to some of my activities, and you can head over to my blog for a free download that will give you an example of a game in each one of these categories to help you get started with planning and figuring out how to pick a game each day for your students in this way. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to help. I love planning morning meeting. I'd be happy to talk about your specific class and anything that you need to help get started to make a successful morning meeting for your students. Thank you for stopping by.